Have you ever heard of a school where students are not allowed to ask questions? I seized an opportunity to visit a theocratic school at a Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses one Thursday night. The members were not allowed to ask questions during class. Successive paragraphs of a book were read to them by one person. An elder then posed predetermined questions, and the members simply read back or repeated sentences from the paragraphs just read. If they had any questions, they were told to ask an elder at the end of the session. It was an interesting study, with rich information about the wonders of the universe. The following Sunday I visited again, where pretty much the same thing happened. Only this time there was an uninterrupted talk given before the Watchtower study, with questions and answers. Again, no questions from the members. All questions came from an elder, with the members simply regurgitating what was just read to them. Rarely was an original thought expressed by a member. For me, that was a bit disturbing, but not quite as disturbing as witnessing a lie being read to the congregation and have them repeat it. That lie came in the January 15, 2014 issue of the Watchtower. Many people were distracted by the outbreak of World War I and the Spanish influenza. Yet, anointed Christians had keenly been anticipating 1914 as the end of the Gentile times, or appointed times of the nations. They were not completely sure what would happen. Still, they knew that 1914 would mark a turning point regarding divine rulership. I was stunned, and I felt really heartbroken to see people, innocent people, unsuspecting people, being so deceived by the organization they trust so very much. Compare that statement with this one found in a Watchtower book, Light One, published 1930, page 194. You're looking at an actual scan of that paragraph. All of the Lord's people looked forward to 1914 with joyful expectations. When that time came and passed, there was much disappointment, chagrin, and mourning, and the Lord's people were greatly in reproach. They were ridiculed by the clergy and their allies in particular, and pointed to with scorn, because they had said so much about 1914 and what would come to pass, and their prophecies had not been fulfilled. What have we here? A 1930 publication telling how disappointed they were when they said so much about 1914, but their prophecies had not been fulfilled, versus a 2014 publication telling us that they were not completely sure about what would happen. Just what is the truth? First of all, if independent thinking was allowed, the congregation would have picked up in that very service that something did not quite add up, because the very article that said the members were not exactly sure what would happen went on to say, when some of their expectations about what would happen in 1914 did not come about, what did they do? There's so much to chew on from that one sentence. 1. How could people be disappointed that some of their expectations did not come about when they were not sure exactly what to expect? 2. The statement implies that some of their expectations did in fact come true. That is not true. Not even one of their expectations were realized. 3. The society consistently seeks to pass the buck onto the members for having expectations, not taking responsibility that it was the organization that planted those expectations in the first place. The Watchtower has a consistent pattern of not divulging truthful information to their members, in keeping with their theocratic war strategy. What is the truth about 1914 and what happened then? To begin with, Jehovah's Witnesses today believe that Christ's invisible presence took place in 1914 and that Christ was enthroned as King in heavens. Most Jehovah's Witnesses are not aware that for 40 to 50 years, those events were attributed to the years 1874 and 1878, as shown on page 247 in the book published by their first president, Charles Taze Russell, in 1889, entitled The Time is at Hand. The January 15, 2014 Watchtower continued. As soon as they discerned the fulfillment of Bible prophecy, they boldly declared to others that God's rule had begun. This is amazing. Firstly, they had already been declaring that God's rule began in 1878. Secondly, they experienced no fulfillment of Bible prophecy because every single one of their prophecies for 1914 failed. Russell had taught them to expect 7 things confirming that 1914 would mark the full end of the Gentile times, that is, the full end of their lease of dominion, and that date will be the farthest limit of the rule of imperfect men. This was printed in his book, The Time is at Hand, some 25 years before, starting at page 76. 1. The kingdom of God will obtain full universal control, firmly established in the earth, on the ruins of present institutions. 2. Jesus would be present as earth's new ruler, dashing to pieces Gentile governments. 3. Sometime before the end of 1914, the last member of the Church of Christ would be glorified with the head. 4. From that time forward, Jerusalem would no longer be trodden down by Gentiles. 5. Israel's blindness will begin to be turned away by that date or sooner. 6. The great time of trouble will reach its end with worldwide anarchy. So they did not predict the start of a war, but the end of a worldwide anarchy. 7. Before that date, God's kingdom will be in the earth, smite and crush the Gentile image, and fully consume the power of those kings. The organization is successfully deceiving members that their prophecy about 1914 marking the end of the Gentile times was fulfilled. Prior to 1914, their interpretation of the end of the Gentile times is not what they understand it to mean today. What they prophesied and expected was the full end of the Gentile times, that is, as they explained it, the full end of their lease of dominion, and that date will be the farthest limit of the rule of imperfect men. By no stretch of the imagination could anyone claim that such a prophecy was fulfilled. It would take a 2-hour documentary or longer to highlight the many half-truths and outright lies on the part of the society with regards to its history. But another unbelievable case of dishonesty is found in their history book. The organization once taught that Abraham and other patriarchs mentioned in Hebrews chapter 11 would be resurrected as princes of earth in 1925. Property was purchased and a house built for them called Beth Sarim. This stunning statement appears in the Proclaimer's book, quoting an earlier publication of theirs. The purpose of acquiring that property and building the house was that there might be some tangible proof that there are those on earth today who believe that the faithful men of old will soon be resurrected by the Lord, be back on earth, and take charge of the visible affairs of earth. Was that the purpose? Just a symbol of their faith? Former Watchtower president Fred Franz, in his book, The New World, published in 1942, told the true reason the house was built. The scriptures give good reason to believe that it shall be shortly before Armageddon breaks. In this expectation, the house at San Diego, California, was built in 1930 and named Beth Sarim, meaning House of the Princes. It is now held in trust for the occupancy of these princes on their return. Is the Watchtower deliberately hiding the truth about its history from members? They have an impressive software, the Watchtower Library, very impressive, along with their website which give access to current and previous books and articles, but you will not find anything before 1950. Why? Interestingly, you will find in the Watchtower Library publications of the Watchtower magazine dating back to 1950. The Awake magazine had some striking predictions about the year 1975, printed in 1968. Check the Watchtower Library and you will not find an Awake publication before 1970. Why? Coincidence? In videos 8 and 9, we will be looking at more instances of the Watchtower using theocratic war strategy on the congregation. Why is the organization lying to its members? Do Jehovah's Witnesses not care if the organization they trust is lying to them? If the Watchtower Society dares to be honest, it can no longer present itself as Jehovah's organization, a topic that will be revisited in the next video.